Hello, folks. I've been, I've actually come back to the Laravel Dusk series in quite a while. I think it's been about 4 years now because the first video that I did on Laravel Dusk was actually around 2020, and then I believe there was just one that I did in 2021, largely talking about what has changed since. And it's been about 3 years now, and the Laravel ecosystem has moved really fast. For example, in testing, we have one major change, that is Pest PHP is there. Um, we now can actually run Laravel Dust tests with Pest as well. So I think it's only natural for me to cover this next and then go from there. I am actually a big Pest fan, and I always like to write my unit tests in Pest instead of PHP unit. So I think from the next project onwards, I think I would really be using Pest for Laravel Dusk as well. So let me show you how to set it up from using a project from, putting up a project from scratch. And then instead of Laravel Sail that we've been using in most of other tutorials, we'll actually be using Laravel Valet. So I already have Laravel Valet installed, and so right now I'm just going to use that and go from there. So without further ado, let's go to the terminal and let's start with the video. I have bumped the font a bit, so I think this should be quite clear. So I have the latest version of Laravel installer here, and this is going to ask me a few questions. I think let me just make some small adjustments. And all right, so we'll do Dusk 11 to signify Laravel 11. And I remember in the rest of the videos as well, if you watch them, I actually use Jetstream, which is still around, and that's going to be super helpful in us getting started with writing our first test. So we'll just use Laravel Jetstream, and we'll use View with Inertia, and we'll probably use, I don't think we need API support, but yeah, we'll just click a few things, and I think we'll leave out Inertia, SSR, and of course we'll choose Pest. That's what the video is about. And then we'll initialize the Git repository, of course, just to see changes. We might as well push this to a new repo, just like I do in most of the videos, so that you guys can see how the code looks like. So for Laravel Dust tests, you can't really use SQLite, so we'll be using MySQL. And yes, okay, and actually, it's a bit of a surprise that even the trimmed down version of Laravel, so to say, takes quite a bit of time, especially when you choose a preset. It takes a bit of time installing. So yeah, right now I believe the front end dependencies are being installed. So we'll wait a bit while it does its thing. So people who have already watched my Laravel Dust series videos, I think it'll be helpful watching the introduction to Laravel Dust series in order to have a better idea as to why you need to use Dusk. I'm sometimes surprised people say that Dusk is no longer in use, or it's used very rarely, and people have moved on to Cypress and stuff. But I fully intend to do a complete video on especially a comparison of Cypress. I'm a big fan of Cypress, and Cypress is really great for testing. But when it comes to Laravel, I think there's nothing like Laravel Dusk. It actually surpasses Cypress. I know a lot of people project that as the best possible option for Laravel projects, but I personally think Dusk can do a lot that is very difficult to pull off with Cypress. So let's leave that for the next video, and we'll we'll just go to the project cd dusk 11, and what we'll do is we'll actually since we're using wheat, so we are going to do npm run dev. Is there something that I'm missing? Anyways, we'll see. Okay, so that actually brings you to that actually gives you two URLs. So that's like dusk 11 test and this test. So let's just open this one, and it shows you Laravel. That should be fine. And we also have this is the wheat screen. So yeah. So I think we're good here. This is actually being because we are using wheat. This is actually served automatically. You can, if you want to add it to Valet, you can also add it there. So we can quickly do, sorry. So we'll quickly do Valet link. Okay, and a symbolic link is added, and we can also do Valet secure so that we can also, you know. So that we can also use HTTPS locally. I mean, it just looks nice. There's no real reason why we're doing that, but it just looks nice. It doesn't look nice without HTTPS. I normally tend to do that always. And you can then do Valet open, and that should actually open the same with HTTPS. So that's without running npm run dev. So you can do either, and either will work. Both will be fine. So you can do npm run dev, and that will run the project for you after compiling it with wheat, or it will also, or you can also do it. You can do it with Valet. Both are fine. So we'll do Valet open once more. And while we are here, we'll see if the Jetstream stuff is here. So if you go to login, you'll see the login page, and you can also do register, and you'll see the register page there. So everything looks good. Everything looks ready for us to start installing Laravel Dusk. So we'll go to Laravel Dusk here. So that's Laravel 11, and we'll install it as a dev dependency. So let's go back here, install it. And while this is being installed, there's another command that we need to run right after. That's PHP Artisan Dusk install, which actually downloads the Chrome driver binaries and installs it on your machine. Then there are different versions of this command. You can actually run this, you can run this, or you can also run this. All have the similar same or similar effect. Yeah, so we have the latest Chrome binary installed, and we'll go from here. And do we need to do anything else? I don't think so. So let's just actually make our first test and see how things go. But I think it would be great if we can do it in VS Code. So we'll open the project in VS Code, and we'll open a terminal, an integrated terminal, just so that things are visible in one screen. Okay, let's move the pic to the side. Okay, and I think I'll do PHP Artisan optimize clear. Let me not do that and try to run the test, and then I'll show you why I'm going to do that. But yeah, okay, so sorry, so we'll do dusk make, and let's do a register test. So while we're at it, if you go to tests, you'll see that the commands that we ran, they've actually created a browser folder. They've installed Laravel Dusk, and they've also created a browser folder where they do have an example test, and we can try and run that before we create this test. But let's create this test, and let's run PHP Artisan Dusk so that this test is run. Okay, and as you can see, this is giving you a connection error. So we are going to try two things. First of all, we are going to do PHP Artisan optimize clear, and try it once more. And that actually works in the first go. So my hunch was that this is basically because of the PHP unit .dust.xml, but I believe with the Pest version, that's also gotten rid of. So that's actually quite good. So both these tests pass, but we don't see anything in the browser. These are supposed to be browser tests after all, right? So both these tests are actually identical. So whenever you create a new test, it's actually just with Pest, it actually just puts this boilerplate code here. So, and as you can see, the elegant Pest syntax is there, and that's actually showing you here. So you can build from here. So we just remove the example test because that's just a ditto of the register test, and we actually want to do stuff with register test. So if we run this again, what's going to happen is this is going to pass again, but we can't, again, just like I said, we can't see the browser in action. And there are ways of changing this in previous versions, and you can actually change it from here in Dust test case, where you can do headless. You can change the value here. That used to be the thing, but I have a much better idea. So out of experience, what I've seen is if you change it from there, because that's something you commit to your repository, and then when you're running your Dust tests in pipeline, that becomes a pain, and you actually have to, you need a way to change the value, change this from your env. So we have this we can add this env variable, and that is dusk headless disabled is equal to true. So this is fairly simple. So instead of making any change anywhere else, you can disable the headless from the env, and you can just do headless disabled true, and that should do the tricks. So just to be sure, we'll actually clear all our caches again, and we'll use the up arrow to run the last command and optimize clear, and let's just run Dusk again. PHP artisan Dusk, and since that's the only we're not using any filters or anything, so since that's the only test, so as you can see, like this was actually a bit too fast, isn't it? So it went to the home page and it saw Laravel, but before we could actually see it, that was the test pass. So that's almost equal to not having the browser launched. So we'll add a bit of a pause here. And I would actually, pause is something that I've been using, like earlier on, I've used this a lot, but I think this is, again, because I have extensively used Laravel Dusk in GitHub action pipelines. So I would actually not recommend using a pause. There are other methods, but for now, just for the purpose of this tutorial, we'll just use this. And then I'll show you an alternative way further down the line. So yeah, so now it goes to the page, it pauses for 5 seconds, and it sees Laravel here, of course, and the test passes. But that's although that would be a good basic test, but I think that's a bit too basic. So let's just swap this out, and let's go to register, and then let's see what we can do there. So there are two ways you can actually come here, and one by one, because this is open and this is running, you can actually do it directly from here, or you can add a long pause, which I've seen out of experience gives you a lot of help. So you can go to a particular, if there is a lot of, if you need to kind of, seed a lot of tables, and run a few factories before seeing the home page, and that is the case in a lot of projects. In that case, it would be ideal that you actually add a long pause here. You run your seeders and factories here, and then you add a long pause here, and then just it'll have this open for you like this, and then you can kind of fill the form going forward. All right, so let me see what we can do. And all right, so the first step, of course, is going to be, we'll go to register, and we don't need to assert anything that we are seeing something. There's nothing in particular here that we need to see and assert. So we'll just push this down, and what we'll do is we'll use type. So this is our first test now. We are up and running, and let me actually disable. All right. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll do inspect elements, and we'll click on inspect, right click and click on inspect, and then we'll just click on the on name. And as we see, there's the ID is name. So when we're using with Laravel Dusk, as you must have seen in my previous videos, when you're using IDs, you actually add a hash sign before, and then yeah, you can use John Doe, you can use Taylor Otwell, but we don't want to do that. We actually want some dynamic data. So for example, for name, we can do fake, we can use the fake method, and we can do name. We will also need email, and we'll also need password, and we don't really need to do this twice because there's password confirmation. But we will actually just use the password twice. So let's do name, and then we'll do type email, and so so the Copilot is picking it up. So type password, and then there is like type password confirm. Okay, so I bet it's not password confirm. I think it's different. So if we come back here, yeah, I think I have a good memory. So password confirmation, we're going to use the same password again. So this is actually going to generate. So for the quality of a test, you actually never want to hard code any values unless you cannot help it. It needs to be like new values every time, and you can use the fake method, and you can actually just use all these values, and they are generated new every single time. So instead of just hard coding them here, you can just do this, and that should do the trick. So we have a button called register. So we are going to press the register button, but okay. So there is something that you need to learn here about Laravel Dusk, and I think that's going to be probably pretty much same for almost all the other ones as well. Now this is a button, and you want to press the register button, but this will not be pressed. Now, as you can see, it's register, but it will not be pressed. So let's just run this test and find out why. So we'll just start with the test. And okay, so it went to the form, and it actually filled out the form again for you to be able to see this slowly. Let me add a pause here. Run the command again, and it'll stay there for a bit. Okay, and it fills the form. Okay, maybe let's move the pause here. Okay, so the indenting is out. Now let's run this again. Okay, so now you see the register button is there, and we go to the we are looking at the we are in inspect elements, and we can see that it's actually it's labeled register, but it's still not working. Now the reason why is that it's all capital on the front end side. So when you go to the actual page itself, it's all capital. So that is something that you have to remember. Don't always rely on inspect elements when it comes to different cases. So if you just use register, it won't work. But if you use the capital version, then the version that's visible here, then that will work. Okay, and now what we'll do is I think okay, so instead of wait, now we have wait for. So we'll actually wait for. So we know out of experience that with Jetstream, it actually redirects to dashboard page. So what we're going to do is we are going to wait for location. We're going to use wait for location. So this is going to be precisely the time that it's going to get to the dashboard. So it'll wait till the location is dashboard, and then it'll assert that the location is actually dashboard. So So assert path is, so yeah, so there you go. And I think that should be that with our test. And so what we're doing here is we're going to register. We are filling out the form with new data every single time, and we are pausing for 5 seconds. I think we'll remove that pause, and then we'll confirm that it is. We'll wait till the URL the URI becomes a dashboard, and then we confirm that that is the case. So that means the register is successful. Once this test is passing, we are 100% sure. It runs 1,000,000 times. We are sure every single time that our register is working. So uh, that's the main advantage of running of having these tests. All right, perfect. So it goes to register, fills out the form, presses the register button, and as you've seen, it has found the register button now, and it is actually now redirecting to the dashboard. So that's actually our first test. So we can now rename is, for example, users can register. This is kind of free form, so you can literally use anything. But yeah, that's basically our register test. Now, there's one more thing that's left to cover before we call it a day, and that is that not every time, for example, in case of the login test, we might as well be bringing some data from the database. And not every time you would like to use the same data, and that's not the best practice really. So there is something that we need to do here. So every single time we might want to truncate the database or, rerun the database migration. So for most of my projects, I actually tend to reach out for for using database migrations. So let me actually show you the difference. The other way is, of course, using database truncation. And the database truncation, actually, the difference between the two is that this database migrations actually reruns the whole migrations, and for every single test. And the database truncation actually just truncates all the database tables, and actually starts that's actually a lighter and quicker way of getting rid of your existing data. But with database migrations, of course, all the migrations will rerun, and you'll actually be starting from scratch. So let's just do this first. And although you can actually use it on a test level. So for example, you can bring it in here. So use database migrations, and you can actually also add like uses database migrations class. You can actually add it here below this. So yeah, so I think that would that can let's do it on the test first, and let's see how it goes. So we'll run PHP artisan Dusk, and I've connected the database for you beforehand. So let me just go to Dusk 11. And as you'll see, there are no migrations here right now. And if we are here during the test, although it'll be difficult to catch the moment, but yeah, if you come here and refresh, okay, let me add a pause here actually. So that'll give you more idea. So let me add let's say an 8 seconds pause. Okay, and let's run this, and let's go to the database. And it's difficult to catch, but yeah, okay. So once the 8-second pause goes away, if you refresh, you'll see that all the migrations have been rolled back. So this is actually going to roll back the migrations for you, and that's like super handy. But if you want to use, for example, if you want to use database truncation, you can use that, and that's like. But one thing that you'll notice is that we will probably be reaching for these methods on every single test. So we might not want to kind of use them in every test. And there is a way, the good thing about Pest is that there's a way of doing that centrally. So we'll actually do that. So now if you do this, let's see how it goes. Okay, the password must be at least 8 characters. So we need to actually specify the length, and let's see if that will work. Okay, and there goes. And you'll see if you come here now to the database, you'll see that the tables are still there, but they were truncated on at the start of the test. So if you run this again, you'll see that the previous data is going to be gone and you're going to have new data. So if you come to the users table, you'll see that new data is there, the latest one that we used. Let me run that one more time to drill the point home. So yeah, so that's going to be the new data that we just filled in. So every single time it's going to get rid of the last data and it's going to populate the new data with every test run. Now, as I said, we can actually do it centrally, so we don't really need to do it on every single test, because you'll see once you start writing pest tests and Laravel Dusk tests in general, you'll see like, for example, you'll see the refresh database trait on being used in all the feature tests. So if you're writing some API tests, or if you're writing some any other feature tests, refresh database is quite handy, and you can actually also use database migrations here as well. So what we'll do is actually let's just do this one. So what we'll do is we'll use database truncation, and let's go with, actually you can use either. So you can use database migrations and you can use database database truncation. But what you'll see here is that there is already an option to enable database migrations. So you can actually do this. All right, database migrations, and I think we need to actually move these above for this to work. Okay, so now in the browser folder, this actually uses database migrations. Now, of course, you can swap this out with database truncation, and both will be fine. But I tend to use database migrations. Really, this is kind of the best way to do it. And in certain tests, you'll see, and I mean, I've written around 200 tests per project on almost all the big projects that I've been working on. So even more in some cases. So I think you'll ultimately be reaching out more for database migrations instead of database truncation. And so this is a handy way of getting the same stuff done. So you'll see that nothing will change, and since we are using actually what will change is that all the tables will be rolled back. So if you come back here and run the test one last time, you'll see that the test passes. And if we come back to the database, you'll see that all the data is actually all the migrations are actually rolled back. So that's basically how we are going to do our first tests. So I think that's pretty much it. I think we've covered enough in this. So we started from scratch. We started with a new Laravel project. We added, we chose Pest in the beginning, and then we chose to set up. And you'll agree that in comparison to PHP unit, this is a lot less boilerplate, and this is a lot easier to run these tests. And on top of that, I'm sure that these tests, I can assure you, they're fairly faster in comparison to the PHP unit ones. So I think after this video, you'll easily be able to set up your projects with Pest, or even migrate existing projects that you are doing with PHP unit to Pest. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for watching, and I fully intend to post more videos. So please don't forget to comment how you've been using Dusk, and like this video, and also please subscribe to the channel so that you get more full of information videos of stuff that you can actually use in your workplace on daily basis. Thank you so much for watching.